But I know in particular the first person I thought of that I subscribed to recently was Matt at MCS Books. I love Matt's channel because I really feel like I get to know his reading taste, but I also, just through his videos, I get to know why he loves reading. And I know we all love reading, but just with Matt's channel, he is so passionate about what he's talking about, and I just really enjoy his videos.
So I was tagged by Alex at What Page You Want to do the BookTube reading tag, and I thought this is a great opportunity to look into another part of identity within BookTube, which oftentimes doesn't actually get explored, but then through this tag can be. So what this sort of discussion whilst answering questions, I'm not going to answer all of the questions, but some of the questions that I will answer will be bracketed under the idea of how we as booktubers create our identity and create narratives of our lives through not only the books that we read, but also through the way that we consume other booktubers. So usually when I tend to do these discussion videos, they sort of reflect either something that I've recently studied or some form of my studies. Either it be an academic or a theory that I've recently used, or whether it be about a discussion which I've been writing an essay about or been thinking about a lot during my studies. When I'm filming this video, I've just finished the practical side of a project that I've been working on for this term at uni, in which we've been working with a client. They've had a problem. Well, I mean, they are real life problems. I don't know why I air quoted it, but they have this situation that they need us to kind of help them. So they've given us a brief as to what they would like us as cultural analysts to do for them. And then we've gone away, done a little bit of research and tried to change that brief to suit what we can actually do for them. And then we presented to them what we're going to do and what we're going to deliver them. And then in the past 8 weeks, we've been researching, analysing and creating deliverables. So a lot of that research actually depends on interviewing people and getting stories from the people that relate to the project we're doing. My specific project is about museum spaces, and I was very much looking into the experience and the narrative of the museum experience. So this video is kind of going to reflect that, about how I was collecting my data, and I heavily emphasise that it's qualitative data, so requires you sitting down with people and actually listening to what they're saying, and not reducing them to numbers. And so in this video, rather than using a theory, I want to reflect that part of my studies, that qualitative data collection. And I'm going to discuss how ideas and sort of stories we can collect from each other here on BookTube. Now, I guess the biggest inspiration for this is Debbie at The Book Ponderer, and I absolutely love her channel. You've heard me talk about it before, but she made a video a few weeks ago perhaps, reviewing a book, and then just halfway through that review she always takes her discussions in a very personal way, and I really enjoy this. And in this specific one, she talks about how we create our own stories and how we create our own narratives through the books that we read. So I think I've briefly mentioned this idea before on my channel, but I never really explored it. Now I want to kind of take that further and analyse it in a way of how we construct identities which in a way are hidden from the people who usually watch our channels. So so that's kind of what I'm going to be doing in this video in some way. I don't know yet how it's going to turn out. I don't even have the questions in front of me. They're in the other room on my laptop, but I just thought I'd preface this video with this kind of discussion and see where it goes. Checking my subscriptions, I discovered that I have 267 subscriptions. And then I looked at it further and broke it down into percentages of what I watch. I have 21% British booktubers, 49% American booktubers, 18% worldwide booktubers, 5% Spanish-speaking booktubers, and 7% miscellaneous channels. I think this is probably quite average. On general, British people do tend to consume more American media than perhaps local media, yet we still do have quite a significant and quite a good selection to choose from. However, it's the 7% miscellaneous channels that I am more interested in looking at further. Within that 7%, we have personalities such as Ashley Tisdale, Sophia Nygaard, and even Jessie Cave. And then we go on to the institutions, such as Lund University and British Vogue. And then we have the essayists, like Kurzgesagt and the Nerdwriter One, Pop Culture Detective Agency, and even Beyond Ghibli. But what can we learn from all these other channels? So for example, let's think about the example miscellaneous channels that I showed that I am subscribed to. You know, I don't tend to buy into the culture of celebrity. It's not something I really invest much time or effort into enjoying. But saying that, there are certainly some celebrities who I do follow or who I do try to keep up to date with. Yet the ones that are on YouTube, most of them are based about the personality that's behind them, or somehow some attachment to a memory. So for example, we have Ashley Tisdale and Jessie Cave. Now they for me are very much from a long way back. You know, Ashley Tisdale was from when I was a teenager and I enjoyed The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody and High School Musical. And I just had one of these, you know, crushes almost on her. And seeing her come back onto YouTube just brought back those memories of my childhood and my enjoyment of, you know, the Disney Channel era, I guess. Even though I have no interest in perhaps the makeup stuff, yet it's the personality. And it's the same with Jessie Cave. You know, she was in the Harry Potter movies as Lavender Brown. I went to see her at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival one year, and I really appreciated her her comedy. And then at the time, many years ago, she had a series called Flat Whites, I think it was. And, you know, I just loved that series, and I loved the way she brought other actors and actresses from the Harry Potter movies into it, and all the characters that were created from it. You know, she doesn't post as regularly anymore, but when she does, I still enjoy watching them because I still remember that time. And then you have the sort of institutes. And for me, these represent my interests in knowledge and art. You have London University, in which I can watch talks that are given by professors that I know, or interesting lectures and things. And then you also have British Vogue, which I'm not much of a fashionista, but I do enjoy watching their videos because they create real aesthetically pleasing videos, very artistic videos, and I like that whole fashion as art concept. And then you have the essayists, and you can see how much, if you watch these channels, how much I'm influenced by what they do. Particularly Nerdwriter 1 and Pop Culture Detective. I love their visual essays. I really enjoy that they talk about my other interests like films and pop culture and other media forms, but based around the idea of the construction of narratives and the way that we learn from films and what we can learn from these different media types. And then you even have, and so all these different miscellaneous channels are ones that truly do help define who I am. Yet you watching me probably don't even know that I am subscribed to or watch these sort of channels, or even why. And I think, you know, it says a lot about who I am, and that just as much as I enjoy learning new concepts and videos that make me think, I also enjoy watching random videos that have nothing to do with anything, just because the people are great or just because they're visually pleasing. So in regards to BookTube, I think I can define my consumption of BookTube with two categories. On the one hand, we have education, and on the other hand, we have entertainment. Now, there are certainly different things that you can learn from both the educative and the entertaining side of BookTube, but for me, they're very much equal. So within that, you have the three topics within this section. We have watching, reading, and creating. For me, to discuss how to balance them doesn't quite make sense, because I believe they are very different things which require very different faculties. Even though I'm using them for either education or entertainment, the way that I use them is quite different. So here I'm trying to physically represent about how I differentiate between watching, reading, and creating. I've used the eyes to represent the watching, I've used the mind to represent the reading, and I've used the hands to represent the creating. So when I'm watching BookTube, it's very much a social thing. The majority of the time is my supporting my friends on BookTube or discovering new people to then support and possibly make friends with. In regards to either education or entertainment, they can then be distilled down to learning new ideas about books, learning about new books, learning about other people's opinions, and learning the empathetic skills to understand and appreciate others' opinions. Within the entertainment side, of course, you then have the pleasure of watching a friend, the enjoyment of watching somebody's well-crafted and edited video, or even just the vlogs, which don't really have much to do with books, yet are still just entertaining because you enjoy the person who's creating them. So for me, watching BookTube is just a pastime in which I can learn about new books, which can then enhance my reading enjoyment, but then also it's a way of communicating with others who are like-minded, who also enjoy reading, and who might have read the same books as me. When it comes to reading, that's something quite different. Within education, I'm either learning about the craft of writing by seeing somebody else's writing, or I'm learning about specific characters or a specific theme, or I'm learning about new ideas through the story that's being told to me. And of course, in regards to entertainment, I am enjoying the fact that I can put time aside to relax and escape from the real world and read a book that is just thrilling and entertaining and gives me everything that I hope for from a book. Yet the faculties in order for me to read are not social at all. They're very much defined by my own solitary experience of being within and transported to a new world through the pages of a book. And then finally we have the creating of the videos. Now again, for me, this has actually become more of a hobby. I actually really enjoy creating videos, and I enjoy the editing process, and I enjoy the learning of new skills. So on the education side, you do have my learning how to edit, how to do different kinds of things in editing, and learning skills that can actually be really useful. I've become so comfortable talking to a camera, and from that, comfortable learning how to interview other people and to share ideas in a concise manner, or at least in an artistic manner, I hope. But then on the other hand, as an entertainment side, I get a pleasure from doing this, and I enjoy doing it, and I enjoy putting my thoughts out there. But again, the faculties to do so are completely different. It's a skill, it's a hobby, it's something that I can genuinely improve at and keep improving at. It is both social and non-social. I do it solitary, but it's social in a way that I learn from others' ways of doing editing. So to balance them all out doesn't quite work, because I invest different kinds of time to them, and I invest different kinds of experience to each one. And they are all as equally important to me. I know people will say reading is the most important, and that's why we're here on BookTube, but no, they're all equally important, because they all do such different things for me. When I first discovered BookTube, it was actually through Kat at Cattytastic. I discovered her channel because I was trying to look for tips on writing, actually, and she had a writing playlist from quite a few years ago now, which really provided me with lots of useful insights, and which I just really enjoyed. I liked her personality, I liked the way she talked to the camera, and I appreciated the tips that she gave. So then through that and subscribing to her channel, I discovered that she also actually spoke about books, and that BookTube existed and BookTube was a thing. And then through her, I found Christine from Poland Banana Books, I found Jessie from Jessie the Reader, and I found Tasha from Tashopolis. And I became invested in their stories. And what I really liked about discovering those four booktubers was that they were all very separate identities, and they all had their very own, dare I say, brands on BookTube, and they created their own content, which was very much their own. However, every now and then they would get together and they would do stuff together, or they would film vlogs together, and for me that became a sort of story, as if you're watching any sort of TV drama. Their lives were continuing on, and sometimes their paths would cross, and of course they'd be getting up to quite good things, and it was just like following a group of friends in a story, and that I was enjoying that story, I was enjoying the group of friends, I was enjoying the characters, because at the end of the day, I'm a sucker for stories about friendships. You know, like, give me a friendship over a romance any day. But I found that very interesting, very fascinating, and I loved that they had done this through BookTube. So then, of course, their paths crossed with other BookTubers, and suddenly the story or the scope of BookTube became so much bigger in my eyes. And then it clicked that, you know, these are real people, and BookTube is a real thing. It's not some sort of fantasy that you're just watching. So I started looking for books that I actually was interested in, and then found sort of the British booktubers. And then through that, once creating my own channel, I just found the whole world of BookTube, basically, or it feels like it, and I know there's so much more to explore. But what I enjoy is that we are all these individual peoples, and we do have our own stories, and our stories are beginning to cross paths, and we are creating these exciting narratives together through the way that we cross paths, through the way that we comment on each other, and through the way that we are shaping our own lives thanks to the platform of BookTube. And I think that is great. And yes, I do absolutely still watch Cattytastic, and I still watch, you know, American YA BookTube, because it's fun and it's enjoyable, and why wouldn't I? Every now and then I might find a good book for them, but at the end of the day, as long as they keep updating their content, their story continues, and I am invested in it.
Hello beautiful people, my My name is Vendi, and over the past couple months, I've acquired what I consider to be a lot of books. I really don't know what came over me, especially considering my budget is not exactly massive for books, but through some miracle of accounting and lack of self-control, I've managed to acquire about 25 books over the past 2-ish months, so in April and March.
Hello and welcome back to my channel, and if you are watching this on Sunday, happy Mother's Day to all the lovely mothers in the world. I just got ready. I thought I would quickly film you a reading week video as it is Sunday.
Hello and welcome. Today I will be participating in my first tag video, that tag being the Classics book tag. There are 9 questions and I've altered some of them. You may call that lazy, I can call it being original, whatever. Let's jump into it.
So today I'm giving the BookTube newbie tag a go, just to ease myself into the BookTube community. To just give this booktubing thing a go, really. Question 1. Why did you start this channel?
We all tell our own story, and you can tell whatever story you want to tell. I mean, that's what all of us here on BookTube are doing, right? We're telling a story through books. Slowly over time, week after week, we are telling you what story we want you to hear. But all of us, whether consciously or unconsciously, are picking the books that we want you to know about. If we read something we don't want you to know about, we don't tell you. If we do something during the week we don't want you to know, we don't tell you. So we're shaping a story. And you are a participant in the story because you choose how to interpret that. You choose how much to listen. You choose who to watch, when to watch them, how to watch them, how to interact with them. Other people get to play a part in their own story and they can choose to stay or choose to go, but there's always the choice.
To discuss what I've learnt about something that hasn't yet finished is quite difficult, because as that clip from Debbie states, you know, we are telling our story, we are choosing what to show and what not to show, and everybody else is participating in that story. Their story may go a different way, but sometimes they will collide and cross paths, and sometimes they just won't, and that's that. So I feel like this story and our story hasn't come to a close, and that it's constantly evolving, constantly growing, and I'm constantly learning. But this time of reflection has helped me to see what sort of things I am putting out there about myself, and what sort of things I am saying about myself, and what sort of things people are picking up about myself. And I think this time of self-reflection is absolutely key in everybody's experience of just living. You know, you should reflect, you should be critical of what you are taking in and what you're putting out. The thing I've learned most from BookTube and from other booktubers is about the crafting of your own story and the crafting of other people's stories around you. How you choose to interact with them and how you choose to reflect upon them should be truly considered and should be thought about, if only just for your own peace of mind or for your own betterment. So now that I've actually created this video and I've sat down, I've talked about it, I've put things together, I've plotted my ideas down, I kind of realised that I've been left with something. I've been left with my own narrative, which is quite open, and I think what could be really interesting is if we do something with this. And I would like to ask you, what can we do with this? I believe it can go down either one of 2 paths. It can go down the first path, which I think is probably quite egotistical, and that we can use this narrative and together we can create something else about me. But what I mean is that I've tried to be a bit more open about my BookTube habits or my YouTube habits, and I'm very much interested in how others actually perceive this story, much like Miriam did, and when she asked people to write down how they perceive her. I think we could do something with this, that you all have this information about me, you all have this idea about me. We could make something of that. You know, we can work together to make one video about analysing me, in which you will perhaps get the opportunity to tell a story about me, or tell a story about how you perceive my life to be, or, you know, something like that, in which you can take control of my content. Or we can go down the other route, which is a lot less egotistical, a lot less about me, and actually about you. We can work together in a collaborative way to promote this self-reflection and these thoughts and analysis about how we are so different yet have such similarities at the same time. You know, and we can create things together so we could do something similar perhaps to One Day on BookTube, in which we all pitch in, a minute's worth of clip of something that truly represents us, and if we can get 24 people doing 24 minutes, something like that, in which you get a chance to tell your story, in which you get a chance to reflect upon your story, and in a way that we can work together and intertwine our narratives. But I want to leave this quite up to you. I want to leave this as an opportunity for collaboration, and I think it could be something exciting. But I just have these initial ideas that could be done, and I think what could be best is if you guys, if you are excited to do something also similar, can choose, and we can discuss, and we can create a document or something, and we can write down ideas, and then we can finally create a video that could encapsulate my narrative or our narrative or your narrative. So thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time for another one. Bye bye.